Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we explore the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe 1 minute at a time. In this, our 5th season, we are looking at Joe Johnston's 2011 film, Captain America, The First Avenger. I'm Andy Nelson from the Next Reel Film Podcast, part of the True Story FM Entertainment Podcast Network.
Wow, I'm Pete Wright, and I'm also part of that same empire.
Today, we're talking about Minute 11, which begins with Steve taking a blow, and it ends with him pining for battle. Joining us on the show today, it's a Marvel Movie Minute blast from the past. That's right, it's Rob Kubasko and Kyle Olson. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey. Oh, I thought you were waiting for me? All right.
Who talks first? Do you talk first?
I was thinking, we're used to disassembling a movie, 1 minute at a time, but you have a different way of doing things now. Okay, all right.
Do we? Oh, I forgot. These things, they change so much. Hi, guys.
How are you?
Oh, so good.
You know what? We
Just
are
relieved.
also part of that same network,
Are.
empire.
Part
Are.
of the
A
same,
secret
the empire.
perhaps?
Marvel Movie Minute Empire.
Indeed.
Very excited about this minute.
Yes,
Very excited about this
minute, we come in right at the end. We talked about this a little bit last time. This is kind of the Captain America's Shield Mark I, as I like to call it, the trash can lid. We get to see.
They always start gray.
Yes, exactly. Kind of, dingy, matted. It's it doesn't work very well. Let's just say this. Our loud jerk, Kieran O'Connor, is wailing on Steve, and Steve takes a couple blows. For the two of you, who would like to go first as far as talking about this moment, as far as puny Steve taking on the loud jerk from the movie theater? Kyle, why don't you kick it off?
Sure. This was when we sort of looked at the movies. There was a couple of key moments that I think are important, and the ones that I was most excited about talking about, and then of course dragged Rob along for, is Steve. Captain America is great, and we get to know him, but this is what Marvel does extremely well, is establishing the person before they become the hero and making it so that person is interesting. In a lot of the sort of lesser superhero stuff, you're just put on the costume, get to the thing. I don't want to see Bruce Wayne. I'm here to see Batman. But Marvel is really good about establishing this person, getting you to, if not at least understand them. And then when they get their powers, then you're following along, and you still know at the end of the day, it's still Pete, it's still Steve, it's still, well, maybe not Bruce, but you get the idea. So this is, I wanted to talk about these because this stuff is fundamental to understanding who Steve is and who he will be through the rest of the movies.
And Rob, when you came into this, did you know the story of Steve and kind of starting as this little guy and kind of getting the Vita rays and all of that sort of thing? And so was this moment something that you were kind of looking forward to?
Oh, yeah. Because I think one of the nice things about this, as Kyle said, not only are they good at establishing the character before you get into the superhero, but I think with Steve, he is one of those characters in the Marvel universe that he doesn't do what he does because he has the power. He does what he does because he knows it's right. And the fact that his altruism, his purity is what is his guiding force, you have to establish that. And in this scene, what you're seeing is tenacity, right? The tenacity for what is right. The tenacity to stand up for himself, even in the face of utter, complete, and certain failure, which is what we see here happen.
And it's really great because we only just met Steve.
Mm-hmm.
In the last couple of minutes, we just met him faking his way through the medical exam. And so I feel like this is such a wonderful example of how efficient they are with their storytelling, that we met him, we see his fortitude, his intestinal strength to just go. But now we get to see him put what little muscle he has, what limited resources he can call, and actually start fighting with somebody, right? He can do what he feels is right. He's this pent up, he's a junkyard dog kind of a character.
Yeah.
It's the character that I know we've seen in other films where it's the little guy who keeps standing up, even though he keeps getting hit and knocked down. He just keeps popping back up. And that's, I think it really defines this tenacity that Steve has and the drive. And really, since we met Steve just a few minutes ago, it has been nothing but character setup, character setup, character setup. We're just seeing all of these things about this guy who is just bound and determined to find a way to help fight. And it's really interesting because even here, he's only fighting this guy because this was the loud jerk in the movie theater who wouldn't shut up about starting the cartoons and skipping the newsreel. So it's pretty interesting. It's a pretty interesting setup that we have with this guy.
That's right, because all we know about Steve is he's a liar and hates cartoons. I mean, those are the two defining characteristics we know about him so far.
He does get pretty riled up when the guy says, start the cartoons.
Yeah.
Shut up! None of those cartoons for me. Maybe that's what it was. Before we kind of continue through this minute, I wanted to chat through a few of the posters that are on the wall.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about there.
Yeah. There's some interesting ones. There's a small one there for Samuel's Theater, an ad for 25 cents for the midnight show, which I don't know if this is Samuel's Theater, if it's something close by. It does strike me odd that they're pasting so many of these posters in this back alley behind the theater, but it is what it is. Set dressing. It's movie set dressing. The one that was, I thought, more of note was an interesting one. There's a poster on the wall for May 29th, 1943, Brooklyn Dodgers of the National League versus Patterson Panthers, Eastern Independent Champions at Hinchliffe Stadium. Do any of you know anything about these teams in this event?
Well, I do now because I did the same thing. I zoomed in and was like, that's weird. First of all, it surprised me that that's football.
Yeah.
Like we think with Brooklyn Dodgers, no, like that was a football team at the time. And also that game never happened.
Right.
Because by the time they got to this point in our history, essentially, there was no football because the war was on.
Right.
So that last time a game had been played was in the 30s.
Yeah, these two teams, Brooklyn Dodgers and Patterson Panthers, did really play in 1933, 35, 36, 38, and 40.
They got to 40.
So all the way up to 40. Yeah, they did get up to 40.
Okay.
But after that, you're right. They were all at war. And, this was the era
There's nowhere to play the game.
This is what a different sport, but a league of their own. That's what that's all about. All the boys are off war, so let's have the girls play ball.
At the time of recording, I don't know if you check this, you can purchase an official program from the September 13th, 1936 matchup of these two teams. Right now, price is about $175.
Wow.
A bargain.
Which is insane. I mean, we were looking this up. We were talking about this. That's so funny that doesn't jive with this year, right? That this is taking place. But when I was looking through these names, I think Brooklyn Dodgers and Patterson Panthers, there were multiple teams with these names, not just NFL, not basketball, baseball, like a bunch of teams. So they could have played around with this. I wonder what was going on with the planning for this on the wall.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where I guess they didn't want to date it from 1940. It would have been odd for the poster to still be hanging up. They were looking for something, so they just latched onto something, and it's a little off. But we saw this when we were looking at the newspapers in the enlistment center earlier. Some of those things. It's like, well, this seems like it probably happened a few months after this would have been. So they're close, and I guess in context of what they're trying to do, it's creating this world, and it's mostly right. That's kind of where we land.
Have you talked about what day this is? Like when this is actually happening?
We have, yeah. Okay. This is Flag Day. Do you have any favorite things to do on Flag Day? Is it a holiday you take off of work and celebrate?
Well, yeah. I mean, I wear the traditional clothing, of course. I mean, I think we all do.
The U.S. flag. We all wrap ourselves in the flag all day.
Which incidentally,
and the bespoke helmet.
Well, yeah,
you wear the helmet too, right? With the ears.
Nothing out of the ordinary, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Let's just note for our domestic listeners that would be in violation of several lines of the flag code, the U.S. flag code. But
which is strongly enforced.
Yeah,
strongly enforced. The old cut and sew rules around the flag. Yeah, classic.
A few things.
Yeah.
Did you guys see any other posters that you want to talk about, or anything else? Pete, did you have something?
Well, there were two of the theaters, right? There were that we had the Orpheum Theater and the
Samuels.
Well, is it Samuels? Because I found the Segerstrom Center for the Arts, the Samueli Theater, because it looks like that last letter was kind of cut off, and that is in the right location. And you can see it's SAMUEL, and then I have no I on that poster because it's like ripped. but it is now the Tony Award-winning stage of off Broadway. These are two off-Broadway theaters, and the Orpheum Theater. I think they've changed the signage, but you can see the restaurant next door. The stage restaurant still has the kind of bent type that was used at the time. If we were talking about the same places, but again, in universe, these were theaters at the time in the place. So, that makes sense to me. They were fairly new. They'd opened in the 20s.
They're probably vaudeville theaters.
Right. So I thought those were interesting, and I think it's just, once again, the sense of place that they that's an awful lot of detail to go to make and age those signs. They did not have to do something like that, and I think that's a nice touch.
Did anybody get? Am I confused about the Turn 'Em Loose, the movie that's being promoted on that one poster? Because
so I did some digging on these posters because it's like it was strange to me. It's like they were using real movie titles in some cases, but changing the actors or changing the names of the actors or changing things slightly, like nothing quite lined up with anything that was real. And I was like, are they purposefully doing this to kind of create this is the Earth 616 universe and not necessarily here, because there's also The Big Game, which was a 1936 movie. Again, time wise it's a little ahead, and the poster has Cabot and Gleason on it, but if you look real close, like the first names are not Bruce Cabot or James Gleason, which are the two actors who are in that movie. It's different first names, and so I couldn't figure out what the heck they were doing. And there was something I didn't see, like a Turn 'Em Loose movie, but I did see. What was the movie that I?
Well, there's Don't Turn 'Em Loose, which is from like 36,
right?
Which is again
36.
Seems just totally odd.
What are they doing here?
Don't turn 'em loose. You guys are very kind, because I realized that I missed that cut. It is Samuel's Theater. I was looking at the frame before and was so excited about Bucky making impact on his face that I didn't see there is a totally clear poster that does say Samuel's, which is not the Samueli Theater, which is also there. So you're very kind not to call me out on that, but I still stand ashamed all the same.
Okay.
Thank you.
You could just
moving on.
Stand yourself in the corner and record from there for the rest of the episode.
I will. I'm going to just start recording a director's commentary track on my own performance in this minute. So it'll be great.
Well, you did mention this is that our loud jerk is interrupted in his fisticuffs with Steve by a voice that grabs him by the shoulder and says, "Hey, pick on someone your own size." And it is, of course, Bucky. This is our introduction to Sebastian Stan as the character that we certainly will get to know quite a bit over the movies and the TV shows. James Buchanan Bucky Barnes. Gentlemen, let's talk about Bucky a little bit. What did you know about Bucky, and what are your thoughts of this character as depicted in the film?
Well, first of all, their sizes are reversed. Bucky in the comic books was always come in as a kid. Like the idea was that he had forged his papers to get into the war. And by the time Cap met him on the battlefield, like in war, he was 14 or 15. Like he had snuck his way in, and he became what was popular at the time of the comics, sidekick. Like he was just like every hero. And even in the next couple of minutes, we're gonna talk about another sidekick in the same way. Everybody had a Robin essentially, and so Bucky was his Robin, and so it was always like Big Cap and Little Bucky. And now when they show up, they've completely reversed it. So that was the first thing when we, as comic book fans, were like, "Whoa, hold on! Why is Bucky like huge and also gorgeous?"
Oh, so gorgeous,
Sebastian Stan. I mean, come on. I mean,
there's no big sidekick energy in that guy. Not at all.
I mean, that suit could fit better, but sure, the uniform could be a little bit tighter, but all right, fine.
Okay. If we got a nitpit, a little tighter in the hiney, please.
A little bit in a few places, and I like to see a little thigh, maybe a little calf. I mean, it's all right. It's fine.
Yeah, and not a big time actor either. I mean, he was known, I think, for Hot Tub Time Machine. I think was his big role at the time, and a little bit on Gossip Girl.
Well, that leads me to my next question. Well, real quick, I want to do the IMDb game with Sebastian Stan. Hopefully none of you are staring at his IMDb. What would the three of you say are the 4 films that IMDb says that Sebastian Stan is known for?
So films, not television.
It's all films.
All films.
Yeah,
okay.
No voice work, no TV.
They've all got to be Marvel.
Okay, so if we go Marvel, are we going to assume it's by what is it, or by the most popular Marvel movie? Because he is in Infinity War.
Yeah.
So does that go over Winter Soldier, which he has a bigger role in? It's the weird IMDb thing.
No, I absolutely think it's Winter Soldier. I think it's going to be, it's got to be Winter Soldier. It's got to be this one. I put these two.
Okay. Okay. So Captain America, First Avenger, and Winter Soldier.
And so both Caps. Now the question is,
okay, then I would say I, Tanya.
Oh, God, yeah, that's a great one.
And then do you think another Marvel one?
Well, I don't know. I come back around to like you said, Infinity War. Yeah. I think one of those two, Infinity War or Endgame,
I would think so,
has got to be on the list. So if we have 3 Marvels and one I, Tanya, is that and one I, Tanya, is that a good balance? Is that enough? I mean, what else has he done? I don't think Pam and Tommy makes it to the top.
Right, exactly. It's how that's television and.
Falcon and Winter Soldier,
television again. So that's out.
He was
in
The Martian. He was in Logan Lucky.
Mm.
He was in Black Swan.
Oh,
Rachel Getting Married.
Mm. It's weird. We don't. IMDb,
yeah, I know you're not winning me over.
Right. I think Cap 1, Cap 2, Infinity War, and I, Tanya. Those are like Rob.
Oh no, I would agree, and I would say it's probably. I think Endgame.
You think Endgame? You think Endgame?
Yeah, I think Endgame.
Okay. You think it's Endgame?
Yeah.
I'll go with Endgame.
Yeah, I'll do
in place of what?
We'll shake it up.
In place of the Infinity War.
In place of Infinity War. Okay. Yeah. Well, you're 3 out of 4. Captain America Civil War, Captain America the Winter Soldier, Captain America the First Avenger, and Avengers Endgame.
Okay.
Interestingly.
Oh, wow.
All right. I thought
no, I, Tanya.
The power of Marvel should not have doubted them.
Wow. So it's all no, I, Tanya.
It's all Marvel. It happens a lot with people who are in Marvel films, people who are in Harry Potter films, Hunger Games, like certain big franchises. If people are in them, these ones will generally rise to the top. So it's not a huge surprise that all 4 of them are Marvel properties. It's interesting, but I would like to have seen something else in there. But it's that wacky IMDb algorithm.
Yeah.
That I'm looking at. I don't know why this just occurred to me. I'm looking at Judi Dench. Any what's the over under on her having all James Bond movies as her top 4?
Well, you don't think Chronicles of Riddick would be up there?
Oh,
well played.
Fantastic.
Okay, I really am looking at it, and it's not Chronicles of Riddick.
Oh, okay.
It's not all James Bond either, and I still would not have gotten any of these right. Okay, let's go on.
Okay. So, all right. Now, as far as Bucky goes, the character that we have here largely was kind of like a much later version of it. Now, I haven't read Ed Brubaker's run in Captain America. Have either of you or any of you, as far like this was in the mid-aughts, and this was where
so good. I was reading those as they came out, so that was one of the few times I was actually like monthly, like oh my gosh.
It was a whole new Bucky, right? This is kind of the Bucky that they went with.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, like they sort of I think knowing that they were going to do Winter Soldier, they sort of just like instead of having him be a kid, let's just have them be kind of the same age, which makes more sense in terms of sort of how they do the time jump at the end of this movie. Ooh, spoilers! That it's the same person, like the idea that it's the same. They meet each other again the same way that they sort of left each other.
Right.
Cinematically, right. I think that makes more sense, and also putting a kid in harm's way and. Having him having like a 15-year-old kid fall off the side of a moving train. Yeah, that doesn't have quite the same. You feel a little bit more, and I don't think that's what they want us to be feeling at that moment. Like, oh wow, Captain America didn't save that child. Oh, wow.
Well, and that's funny because I don't think. I mean, I'm not sure, but I don't think there had been a lot of opinion about this version of Bucky for the movies. It's not like people were so attached to that early version of Bucky that people were upset that they had changed the character. Like I know sometimes people get their panties in a bunch when it comes to particular character changes from book or comic to screen. I don't think that Bucky was one of those characters. I think people kind of looked at it like, yeah, he's kind of a dated sidekick. I mean, that's my impression just reading it now.
Yeah.
Check my memory on this. At the time this movie came out, I believe the news had been released that Sebastian Stan had signed to like a 9-picture deal with Marvel. I believe we already knew that news when this movie came out.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, to your point, kind of shocking because this was a largely unknown guy and a character we had no idea would end up being credible. This was still early enough in the phase 1. And I remember thinking this could really be something special if everything goes right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
because we're still in the building the planes, we're flying it stage of the Marvel.
Yeah.
How do they count a TV series on that contract? Does that count as just like one movie?
No, I don't think it counts. I think it's a separate.
I don't think that
would be a whole new contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many has he done now? Then he hasn't done 9.
His contract is done. At this point,
his contract is done because it included all the bit stuff, Black Panther, and like everywhere he showed up.
If you do an Easter egg, it counts.
Yeah.
So he showed up at the where was he revealed as the White Wolf? He showed at the end of Black Panther.
Panther,
that counted.
Yeah.
He's only been in 7.
Yeah. So maybe there's more coming.
The 3 Captain Americas. Are you sure it was him? Because I know that they talked about that with Chris Evans, and he didn't end up signing it and got it down to 6.
And Sam Jackson had that deal, but I didn't know if...
Yeah, Sam Jackson had... No, I think this is why I asked you to check my memory, gentlemen, to test my memory. I believe strongly, I'm going to give it 87% that we knew, because that was the big mystery. I could totally see why Chris Evans would have a giant one. I can absolutely see why Sam Jackson had a big one, but I could not at the time see why this guy would get such a character. Would get such a play in this series at this point. And that was news.
I do remember that, and you are right. And I'm actually looking, he said about a month after Captain America was released, he was still struggling to pay his rent. Obviously, he doesn't have to do that anymore. Yeah. But he's only at 7 right now. So he did the 3 Captain Americas, the 2 of the last 2 of the Avenger films, and then Ant-Man cameo and Black Panther cameo.
Oh, yeah. The Ant-Man cameo, that's interesting because it's just a scene from
it's not like an end.
Civil War.
Doesn't even that shouldn't count. Is the thing.
But I guess they use the footage. So
I don't know.
Yeah, Sebastian Stan coming into this thing is already great. Like there's a lot of guys that we talked about we talked about in previous things where they're still learning how this works, how the character is. I would say even Chris Hemsworth in Thor is still kind of feeling it out. Like he's not quite the one we sort of now know. Like he had a lot to learn, a lot to understand. But like Sebastian Stan establishes Bucky right from this moment. And is that guy in the same way that Chris Evans, even little guy, with some CG assistance, we know who Steve is, and we know who Bucky is very quickly. And as we're going to see in the next couple of minutes, it's a really strong introduction. Even cinematically, sure, showing up as the hero and stuff too, but like that dashing figure of basically everything Steve wants to be. I think, and he's going on to do just as good from here on out. But like, it's a great debut.
And one thing that we know about Bucky, he sure knows how to sneak up quietly behind someone, because we sure don't hear him.
Yeah, he's as sneaky as a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
That's true.
Sorry, I just watched a lot of Jurassic Park, and I don't know why she's so quiet.
Yeah. There's all those. The military, U.S. military, is known for their incredibly sneaky shoes.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. So sneaky.
Because there's stuff with newspaper.
That's
That's right.
That's a call forward.
So we've got this is Bucky. He comes in, he boots the loud jerk in the butt and tells him to get out of here. And then he goes
O'Connor
and finds,
exits the film. That's a wrap.
He does. That is a picture wrap on Kieran O'Connor faux show.
There is if you frame by frame it right after he's kicked in the butt, O'Connor has this look on his face that's like, I'm going to do it for you guys. Audio, you're not going to get it. His face is this. And it looks like he's having a ball getting kicked in the butt by Bucky Barnes. This is the most entertained this has ever been. He has ever been. He's in this alley with a boot in his butt.
With a boot in his butt.
We should all be so lucky.
With Bucky's boot in the bum.
Bucky's boot in the butt.
Oh, man. So
that should be on a shirt. So now you can have Bucky's boot in the butt.
If we were still doing the host of the show, that'd be the name of this episode.
That's what I was just saying.
That is the name of that. Should be
the name of the episode, and it's going on a shirt.
So Bucky picks up Steve's enlistment card, which we saw earlier. We didn't get quite as good a view. Again, Steve's birthday, July 4th, 1918. Very fitting. And his address.
Have you talked about who he shares that birthday with?
No. No, who does he share the
two
birthday
very
with?
Famous women, a pair of twins who would go on to be known as Ann Landers and Dear Abby, were both born on the same day.
Oh.
Wow.
They did not get the Super Soldier Serum, but they still got the fame.
Look at that.
And on that day, I actually found that Woodrow Wilson was giving a speech at the grave of George Washington. And I have a quote for that. By the way, Woodrow Wilson, verbose.
Yeah,
he's a chatty dude. But I actually found one interesting quote from him from that speech. It's one sentence because, man, that dude could talk. And he said, "The past and the present are in deadly grapple, and the peoples of the world are being done to death between them." Which, good thing we're past all that, right?
Feels eerie.
Yeah.
Eerie.
What do you know about Paramus, New Jersey?
No, actually, I spent all my energy looking up what 4F meant.
Oh, we talked about that when it got stamped.
Oh, okay.
Last week.
There are so many codes.
There's so many codes.
So many codes.
Class 4. Yeah.
Lot of codes. Did anybody look up the address that Steve said he lives at?
Fake.
Yeah.
There is no 117th Street in New Jersey.
Was it 117th or 114th?
They didn't know to check.
Well, whatever.
Whatever it is.
I
It's
copied
a little...
and put it in there. And, yeah. Google was like, nope.
Has anybody been to Paramus?
I've never been to Paramus.
I'm just going to tell you, it's probably a store. There's that, because you know about that. Paramus has got like the highest, isn't it per capita of like or whatever it is of shopping malls?
Oh,
than
so
any
many
other
malls.
city. Yeah. Than any other city in the U.S.
That's New Jersey though. From like Paramus through South Newark, Elizabeth, it's just shopping. It's shopping and pharmaceuticals. There's just a lot going on there. Yeah. I did time very close to Paramus. In Madison, so I was just south of Paramus by a few towns.
Making license plates?
I did. I made license. That's what I did. I made license plates, as far as you know. And it was, Garden State. They don't call it the Garden State for nothing. Just not where I was.
Just not where you were. That's what I hear everybody who's lived in New Jersey say. Not where I was.
It's lovely. Don't go to those places.
Now, did any of you find it says local board I think PNJ 413? Any information about what that is? Because I couldn't find anything about what that means. I just assumed it was like maybe an early version of a zip code or something. I don't know.
Nothing.
All right. But you can see June 14th, 1943. So again, that's how we know it is, of course, Flag Day. And you can see the doctor's name. He's credited as 4F Doc, but you can see it's Commanding Officer / Captain DJ either Carling or Carding. It's kind of hard to tell with his cursive. So it's nice to know that he has a name as opposed to just 4F Doc. But I also do like in the credits how they very clearly tell you, like, loud jerk, 4F Doc. So you can very easily figure out who's who.
I did note that, and just to jump up several lines, that he is listed as Rogers, Steve on this official fountain pen paperwork, and I'm curious that he is not a Stephen.
Oh, yeah.
True.
Am I the only ones curious that he's not a Stephen? They're all Stevens. I've never met a Steve that isn't a Stephen.
Maybe this was also his, fourth attempt or whatever, so...
Yeah, he's getting lazy.
He's trying variations.
Does he put
Stevie last time?
That's what it is, right? This is the fourth attempt.
Yeah.
Do you think he always puts the same birthday?
Yes, because it's July 4th.
Because of course it has to be, right?
I was debating. I'm like, how much of this does he make up? I mean, obviously the address we know he makes up. Bucky talks about, you're from Paramus now, so we know that's faked. But I'm guessing like the rest of the stuff was probably accurate. I mean, it seems like he's probably he has to put some stuff on there that was real.
Yeah. Somehow they'd have to find him, and I wonder about that. Like he's putting a fake address on there. There's no computers. Like nobody is checking addresses.
Right.
What would I have gotten away? What levels of fraud would I have gotten away with?
I like that's where you go.
Without computers,
man.
That's exactly the first place I go. All right.
The only other thing that I wanted to talk about here is we have the iconic line that has come from this movie and is spread across the franchise and memes galore. I can do this all day. What do you guys think of this line as far as what it says about Steve and its place in cinema quotable line history?
Yeah. It's a musical.
That's
in
right.
Canon.
He can do this all day.
All day. Yeah. I love it. I'm on the record. It's just super catchy and so iconic how he says it. And I love that the first time he says it, he says he's the little guy.
Yeah.
That is
absolutely,
just a delightful placement.
Yeah.
It's beautifully written.
Yeah. There's a reason that it has become, meme worthy and stuff too, because it's, I say for couple of screenwriters who didn't have a lot of credits coming into this thing, that they could distill it down to this. Like there's about 4 lines in this movie that are just so perfect and exactly right, where you hear them and you go, yes, they absolutely understood who this guy could be, because Captain America in the comics, not always consistently written. He can come off as kind of a jerk sometimes, and a little bit full of himself, and he can sort of be wrapped in the flag and come across there. But to take it down to absolutely this, where the other guy's like, you're just going to be beaten all day? Because the point isn't that, like, I can destroy you, I can dominate you all day. It's like, no, I can continue to take hits all day. That's what it comes down to. You're like, wow, that is a very different, that's not a Sylvester Stallone line. That's not an Arnold Schwarzenegger line. Like this is something that we haven't really seen before in an action hero.
It's one of those things that I love hearing, and every time he says it, I mean, you're always looking for that sort of thing. That one, I mean, just saying it and making it a catchphrase is great, period. But then the fact that it can become a through line that we have across multiple movies, even to the point where one of them turns it into a joke and kind of turns it around on itself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what makes like everything so much more cohesive when you have that strength in something like that. It's so fun, and it's just perfect. It says so much about who this character is.
Yeah.
Well, and it speaks to the humility of the character, because he never, I don't think even when he says it in the future, it's never said when he's got the upper hand. It's always said passively.
Yeah.
Like, that I will keep fighting and doing what I know is right. Again, not because of my strength, but because I know it's right. And that's what makes it powerful.
Absolutely. I did forget. I had one last thing I was going to say. The 107th Infantry. Bucky says he's going off to the 107th. What did you find about the 107th?
I found it interesting that because of where they were from, they were known as the Silk Stocking Regiment. Because
that's why he was so quiet.
That's right. He was wearing silk stockings. See, he stocked up on him because of where they were from. So, like a lot of people from the elite, because they basically recruited from the Upper East Side. So you had a lot of children of wealthy people going into it. So that apparently there was a lot of like, oh, hello, you're here to fight the war too. That sort of like last time I saw you was at the club.
This was the group that had the silk gloves that they would like just slap each other with.
Yes, there's always a gauntlet thrown.
And then I found their motto is "Pro Patria et Gloria," which is for country and glory.
That makes sense.
Oh,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So those are the people that Bucky is training with.
Fantastic. It is weird that, and we talked about this last time, but when they first tried to get or to enlist, it was like right after Pearl Harbor was attacked, and now it's 1943, and this is how long it's taken Bucky to finally get his orders, and I think that it seems like a strangely long time for him to go through basic training, but it is what it is. The dates on these things are always a little wonky.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of time to learn literal butt kicking.
Maybe they also have to learn how to actually sew their own silk stockings.
That's right.
That could be part of it.
Dude, can I just say something about the butt kicking? Like, I don't know. I remember if you can see this. Like, it's not like a side kick. It's not like, I'm just getting you to move. No, it's heel to toe and toe pointed in the canyon.
I wonder if Bucky has spent some time as a bouncer. This seems like a bum's rush. You know, like, all right, you've had enough. Get out of here.
Get out of here.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
That's funny.
Any last things any of you have for this minute?
Don't.
Just a good minute.
It's a good minute.
Good character.
Right. Welcome, Bucky.
It is a good minute. Kyle and Rob, thank you so much for joining us today and for all week. It's so great having the two of you back.
And for all time.
We can do this all week.
And you will. And you will. Everybody, don't forget you can join in the conversation over in our Discord community, truestory.fm/Marvel Movie Minute. Just click on the Discord link. It'll take you there, and you can become a part of the conversation in there. And I guess that's it. So, everybody, thank you so much. Pete, thanks as always.
Hoc facere potui totum diem.
Until next time, true believers.
Marvel Movie Minute is a production of True Story FM. Engineering by Andy Nelson. This season's music is Spread the News by Anthony Vega, and this season's show art is by Winston Yabo. Find the show at truestory.fm, and if your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, consider doing that for this show.